Hey guys, Alan here with 79 Woodworks, and today I am going to do a build reveal. Now, unfortunately, I was unable to film this build, but I am going to show you the final product and kind of give you a rundown in the process and how I built it. Before we get started, please hit that like and subscribe button. Also, hit that bell icon so you know when new videos come out. And I also like to give a shout out to one of my subscribers, Jerry. He was nice enough to buy me a light ring and stand and holder for my phone so that I can do better video content. And I'd like to give him a shout out, and I thank you very much for that. Uh, so, as you can see behind me, this is the cabinet. It is a TV slash media stand. It is custom built for a customer. Uh, the deal behind this particular one is he had certain dimensions that he wanted made, and I had to custom build it to fit those dimensions so that it fit right in his living room. And the reason I say custom built, anytime you build something, it's going to be custom regardless. But there are, generic dimensions on certain things and certain patterns that people will build things at. But as I talked about in one of my other videos, you can take something that somebody else has done and you can modify it. You can put your own spin to it, and it's going to be a one of a kind regardless. And that's what this is. This is a one of a kind cabinet. It was made specifically for this customer, and I would bet this will probably be the only one of this kind made. Now that's not to say that I won't make other cabinets, because I know I will, but I doubt I'll make another one exactly like this. So that's the beauty of woodworking. People get quality pieces, not some cheap store bought, just manufactured quickly out the door. You're getting a quality hand built item, or product, to be able to be used for a long time, something that you might even be able to pass down to your kids or maybe even grandkids. It just depends on what you make it out of and how well you build it. So anyways, I'm going to turn the phone around, kind of give you a rundown of the cabinet, and then I'll talk to you about kind of the process of how I built it. All right, so here's the left side. And the right side. And this thing's got 9 storage cubes or compartments, whatever you want to call it. Wider in the middle. Plenty of room to put whatever you want. DVD player, Xbox, PlayStation, you store your DVDs, just whatever you want to put in it. Plenty of room. The doors do open. Now, he wanted, this particular customer, normally I would do like a panel door, with like, an inside bevel around, or maybe even a flat panel with an X brace in it, to kind of give more of a farmhouse look. They wanted a little bit more rustic look. So this screen is basically critter cage screen. It's 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch squares, if you can see. I just rolled it out, flattened it out, and spray painted it gloss black. That's what the customer wanted. Plus, it matches the door handles. I think it turned out very nice. It's just attached in with staples every so often, just to keep it flat and to keep it secure to the door. The hinges, I don't remember what particular model these hinges are, but they're kind of springy. So, you know, they're not going to fly open if you tilt it or whatever. They're, you know, once you get them to a certain point, they're going to shut and they're going to stay shut. To keep it from beating up against the cabinet itself, I put these little clear bumper things right there. You can buy them basically anywhere, Walmart, Lowe's, Home Depot, and they just stick to it, and they keep the door from hitting all the way onto the cabinet itself. And I'll get my little stool here and I'll show you the top. So this is the top. I think it turned out really well. The edges on the sides and the front around are routed. I did this with a fixed base router. Moved it around, and then this mimics the trim that goes all the way around at the bottom. Now I did this one with my cordless palm router because it was a little easier to do it with it on this smaller piece and easier to do the fixed base on the top because there was more room to do. The sides, I've got this, it's called Cove molding trim inside here. Turned out very nice. You don't have to use cove molding. You can use quarter round trim. You can use whatever kind of trim like this that you want. It just depends on whatever look. But I like the cove molding. I think it gives a little more dimension to the side of the cabinet and looks real nice. It turned out pretty good. I can't complain too much about it. Now, is this cabinet perfect? No, it's not perfect, but it turned out really nice. This is 2-inch face frame all the way across. This piece here is 3-inch from here to here, and then I got 2-inch 1x material going across, and then on the bottom it's 3.5-inch 1x, and then a 2-inch trim piece going around. Now, you don't have to necessarily fancy a cabinet this much, but I think it looks really good. Plus, like I said, it gives depth to the cabinet and turns out really nice. All right, so that's kind of the general layout of the cabinet. I'll go over a few things of what I did. One issue that I had, and maybe this will help somebody if they're looking to build anything like this. So this is one of the original door frames that I had built. I originally built this one. I had to redo it, and I'm going to tell you why. So the door handles on here, the door handles on here, the screws that come with it were only about that long. Not very long at all. So, and this is a 3/4 inch material. It's called a 1x. It's supposed to be like a, 1 inch, but it's not. It's actually 3/4 of an inch. Well, that screw is not long enough to go through this. Now, one thing you could do is you could probably go to Lowe's or Home Depot where they have the aisle where you can get different screws and different links and different thread patterns. I could have went that way trying to find one that had the same thread pattern and that was longer that would have worked on this, but I figured that would take a lot of time and I didn't want to have to go through all that hassle. So what I did the first go around, if you can see, is I just took a drill bit that was the same diameter as the head of the screw, and I drilled in right here, so far in, but still leave enough wood that the screw had something to rest on, but put enough thread out here to where I could still screw the handle on. And this one worked out fine, but when I got to this one and I started doing the same thing, I don't know if I pressed too hard or what happened, but it blew all the way through, as you can see here. So I was racking my brain, how am I going to fix this? Well, my first original idea was fill it with wood filler, let it dry good, and then re-drill the hole, which, as you can see, that's what I filled it with, the wood filler all the way through. But the more I thought about it as I was letting it dry, I didn't know if that was going to be structurally sturdy enough to drill through that and then put that screw in again. So I abandoned that, just rebuilt the door frame altogether. And this time what I did, instead of using a drill bit, I used a Forstner bit. This is a 3/8 Forstner bit. It's the same diameter as the head of the screw that's on the door handles. And what I did is I found the depth that I wanted, put it to where you can see, which I just did this for demonstration purposes, but you know, you find the depth that you want and you put the tape, you put painter's tape right at the edge of where it's going to meet however far you want it. So I know this one's shows that it's going nearly all the way through, but the principle's still the same. So when the tape gets to the wood and starts flapping around, you know you need to stop or you're going to go too far. So that's basically what I did. Now this worked way better. Now ideally, drill press would work really well. Some of the drill presses have a stop on it. You can set it to however far down you want it, and it'll stop when it gets to that point. Some of them I don't think do. Some of them do. So you use the same principle. Put painter's tape on the bit, whatever distance you want it to be, and then you just do it that way. I don't have a drill press, so I had to use a hand drill. And that works fine too. So my point with that is you don't have to have all these different tools to make something nice like this. You can use just a regular drill and a saw, and that way and still make a nice cabinet. You don't even have to have a router for that matter. I mean, you could have done all this on here and not even put routed edges on it, and it still looked fine. I would recommend that you take a sander and kind of sand the edges so that they're not real sharp and hard, because if you ever hit one, it's going to hurt. Also, you can see, like I said, I've got 2-inch face frame around the front. This piece over here, see if I can show you the side. There we go. All right, so the side over here is 2 inches also. And then here's 2 inches. But I didn't cut a piece 2 inches for this. And the reason being is because you've got this piece here that's going to line up flush with the trim, this inner trim piece. So this piece here is, you're going to cut it down to where when you put it together with this 3/4 inch material, it makes 2 inches. And that way it matches up with this side, because you don't want to have your 3/4 inch side here and then put a 2-inch piece here, because then it's going to throw it off. It's going to make it, it's not going to look right. Now, you could probably say, well, why didn't you put the 2-inch, have it come up here and then cut your piece for here? Well, the reason being is it ain't going to look very good. Could you do it? Sure, but I wouldn't do it. I don't think it would look right, and I'll show you what it would look like. So say this is your 2-inch face frame part. This one represents this piece here. Well, if you put your 2-inch here and then you run this piece up here, you see you're going to have this seam here. Plus, depending on how you've cut this piece, you're going to have end grain, and that don't look good. So you take your 2-inch piece, and then you take your other piece, and instead you butt it up on the backside. So when your face frame is showing, this is all you see is a solid piece. And then this piece you just butt up as flush as you can get it, sand it, and then paint over it. And you might see the seam here, but it's on the side. It's not going to be showing in the front where as soon as you walk up, everybody in the world is going to see that, and that's just not going to look good. So that, to me, that's the best way of doing your side pieces in conjunction with your face frame. The top is attached using what is called Z-clips or tabletop fasteners. And the reason they call it Z-clips is they look like a Z. One side's got a hole, the other side does not. Basically what you want to do is you want to take a router with a edge guide, and you want to make sure that you fit your depth to match this depth here. And then you run a groove on the inside of the sidewall of your cabinet, and this part here fits in that groove. Then when you put your top on, you drill a hole up into the top, and then you put your screw. When you put your screw in and this thing tightens, it puts pressure in that groove, and it holds your tabletop down and keeps it secure. Now, the importance of this is with that groove, and since this part's not necessarily attached, even though it is, but it's pressure attached, I guess would be the best way to put it. It gives your wood the ability to move. Now, it's not going to move. You're not going to get up there and you're not going to wiggle it or move it. It's not going to move like that. The wood itself will contract and expand according to the climate. And like during the seasons, you know, when it's hot and when it's cold, the wood will contract. And this just allows it to give it that movement so that it doesn't split or crack over time. And it allows for that. You can pick these up. I'll try to see if I can put a link in. I'm still learning how to do all of this, but I'll try to put a link in if I can find it. I bought these off of Amazon. There's a company called Rockler that makes a lot of woodworking stuff. They have these, but I found these off of Amazon. They look identical to the Rockler brand. I got a 40 pack for like, I don't know, they're cheap for like $11, something like that. Very inexpensive. The top, the stain, is this Varathane stain, wood stain. It's a smoked gray. There's also one that's called a weathered gray. Basically the same thing. It just gives that wood kind of that old barn wood, outdoor weathered look. Very nice. What you want to do, of course, this is with any stain. Once you put it on, you can put as many coats as you want depending on the amount of darkness you want to go with. This particular top here has 3 coats on it. 3 I think was the darkness I thought was fine for this particular build. After that was dry, I went over it with a General's brand clear satin. Kind of gives it a nice little satin sheen to it, but it also gives protection to the wood and the stain. I've got 3 coats of that on there. It recommends 3. You don't necessarily have to do 3. You could even do 4 or 5 if you wanted to, but it recommends 3. I did 3 on that one. You want to put it on, let it dry for a couple of hours. Take probably like a 120 to maybe a 300, 400 grit, kind of lightly sand over it. You don't want to do it real hard because it'll put scratches, but just do a real light sanding across it. Wipe it off real good and then put you another coat on. Once it's dried overnight, I take this Howard Citrus Shield paste wax. It's a neutral color. If you can see that, it's neutral. Take a clean cloth, put it on there, kind of buff it on, polish it on, basically like putting wax on a car. It recommends let it dry for 3 to 5 minutes or until it gets a nice little haze. Then you want to take another clean cloth and buff it off. Kind of flip the cloth as you do it and go through it, and then once this hardens and dries, it gives it another kind of a satin sheen look, and gives an extra added layer of protection. Now, another thing you can do with that, since the original plans for this build, it was going to get distressed. We were going to do a distressed look, but the customer saw it after I got it to this point here and decided they liked the look of this, so we decided to leave it. If we had have done the distressed look, you could take some 4-aught steel wool and the paste wax and go over the whole entire cabinet, even the top. You can do the top the same way, and put that on, and that gives an extra layer of protection over the cabinet itself. But what the 4-aught steel wool does, it's fine enough that it's not going to scratch anything, but it is abrasive enough that if there's any air bubbles or any kind of little small imperfections or things like that, it'll help to eliminate those and give you a more smooth finish. So keep that in mind if you ever get you any of that and use it. And you don't have to use this particular brand. There's other kinds of paste wax out there you can get. I think Johnson & Johnson makes one. This is just what I happen to have in the shop, so that's what I used. But guys, that's about it. That's a basic rundown on this build. If you'll go back and watch my other videos, I got a couple of tool review videos. Those particular tools that are in those videos I used on this build. My Hart circular saw, impact driver, and drill driver, I used those in this build. Also my Ryobi cordless palm router, which I mention it and I show it, but I haven't done a review on it. But like I said, I used it for the bottom trim work on this thing. And then the Ryobi Airstrike brad nailer. I do have a review video on that, and I used it on this for basically throughout the whole thing. Worked great. I encourage you to go watch that review. I used a couple of other tools as well, and I'll plan on making future videos with those tools and kind of give you the rundown on them. One of them is my Craftsman table saw. It worked really well. And then my other one is I've got a Hart brand 10-inch compound miter saw. That thing, I used it to cut all the trim pieces, all the trim, the door frames. Other than the big sheets of plywood, I used that miter saw. Worked great for the money. That one's, I encourage y'all to pick one of those up if you just need a good general miter saw. If you need something to be a little more precise or a little more, not necessarily professional, but a little more professional grade, I guess you want to call it, then probably wouldn't recommend it for that. But if you just need an all-around general use miter saw, highly worth the money. I was very impressed with it. But yeah, that's it, guys. Like I said, hit that like button, subscribe button, hit that bell notification so when my future videos come out, you'll be made aware. And we'll catch you on the next one.